Hi Statesman Nation, I'm Wade Steinloggy and you're in the locker room presented by Malcolm Lumber. On this week's show we'll talk about last week's games, including some unfortunate cooling off by the basketball teams, red hot basketball teams, as well as some solid showings by our bowling, track and field, and wrestling squads. We'll also preview next week's contest, including a home women's basketball game to start the week. We'll also have a pair of special guests in the studio, including head bowling coach Brandon Brooks, as well as Austin Goen of the wrestling team. All of that and much more, you're in the locker room. We are back to in the locker room. We had a full docket of contests last week. We're going to get right to the highlights. The women's basketball team has not had a whole lot of success against Benedictine in the past, but did win the last time in Atchison 2 years ago. William Penn pulling out to an early 10-3 lead, courtesy of this three-pointer by Mackenzie Peasley. The Statesmen led 19-18 after the first quarter. Second quarter was a back and forth affair, but William Penn took the lead for good on this drive by Vashti Wabarocha, and your Statesmen up 39-36 after one half. And now a steal and the bucket for William Penn. Big third quarter for William Penn. Brenda Pennington with that bucket. And now William Penn up 7 late, and Kate Ilatello puts this one on ice with the three-pointer. In a game where both teams shot well over 50%, William Penn was ahead for most of the way. Big victory over Benedictine, 75-64 for your Statesman. Wabarocha with a near double-double of 31 points and 9 rebounds. Ilatello with 13 points, and Pennington picks up 10 points, 4 assists, and 4 steals as well. Men's contest featuring a huge top 15 matchup. William Penn had an extra day to get ready for this one. Unfortunately, it did not pay dividends as Benedictine rolls out to a big lead early on. Tuan Johnson with the bucket before that. Mario Manuel gets blocked and puts in the bucket, though. William Penn trying to keep it close, tied 31-31 at half. In the second half, Benedictine starting to pull away. Nice effort there by Omar Sherman, but it was too little as your Statesmen fall 84-70 against the Ravens down there in Atchison, Kansas. Omar Sherman with a double-double of 11 points and 10 rebounds. Tuan Johnson with 13 points, and Q Cager also with 13 points. So William Penn dropping that top 15 matchup. The Ravens staying perfect in league play. The next night, the wrestling team made the same trek down to the Jayhawk State to take on Benedictine in a battle of teams looking for their first Hart victory. Nadello, Charles Pierre, and Tyshawn Cannon each earned forfeits as William Penn took an early lead. Sandwiched between those victories, or those forfeits, was also a win by Darquel Pierre at 133 pounds. He opens the scoring here with that takedown, gets another one, and had a couple early on in the first period. Pierre ends up taking that victory 10-4. After a couple of Ravens victories, Johnny Hopper gets William Penn back on track here at 165 pounds, starting off with that takedown. Notches another one here, finishes off the double leg. He'll also pick up a 10-4 victory. Now moving ahead to 184 pounds, Austin Goen, who we're going to have on the broadcast in a little bit, had his Benedictine opponent in a lot of trouble early on. He gets in a bit of trouble, reverses him, and picks up the big pin in the second period. And now Sheldon Rodriguez finishing things off, putting the exclamation point on the meet. Gets a cradle, and he was all about cradling in his matchup. Another cradle here, and one more for good measure as he dominates his Raven opponent by technical fall to get the victory. And overall, William Penn rolls over the Ravens 29-18. Statesmen take victories at 6 different meets, or six different weights, 2 and 3 overall, 1 and 3 in the league. Hopper, Goen, and Rodriguez with the biggest victories for your Statesmen. A couple nights later, Culver Stockton coming to town to take on William Penn in a women's and men's doubleheader. The women looking to extend their victory or winning streak to 9 games. It was going to be a tough one though. 10-9 early on. A nice drop in to Wabarocha. She gets the bucket. And now a 3-pointer here for Kate Ilatello as William Penn takes the lead 25-23. Dish out into the corner, and Ilatello hits another 3-pointer. William Penn tied up here after 30 minutes, but the fourth quarter was all William Penn. 7-0 lead, 7-0 run early on, and William Penn will pull away late. And Culver Stockton couldn't keep pace with your Statesman. 55-47. The women's basketball team with the victory. Near double-double for Ilatello, 17-9. Pennington picks up 15 points, and Wabarocha with 11 herself. Next game on the docket that night. It's hoping to be an easy one for William Penn, but the team playing without several individuals. This is a matchup that featured 14 ties and 24 lead changes. We're going to fast forward late in the game here. 3-pointer by Tawan Johnson gives William Penn the lead. Unfortunately, the Wildcats come back to tie it up. Last second heave by Edwards, A.B. Edwards, and William Penn going to overtime. The overtime period did not turn out well for William Penn. Had the lead late, but this bucket here by the Wildcats ends up giving Culver Stockton the upset, 93-92 in overtime. Again, William Penn playing without some 3 of its best players, but Eddie Daly stepping up huge with a 21-point, 17-rebound game. Tawan Johnson also added 21 points, and A.B. Edwards with 18 points and 5 assists, but your Statesmen fall in overtime to Culver Stockton in that upset. Busy week for the men and women as they conclude the weekend at Evangel. Women looking to extend their winning streak to double digits and looked great early on. 10-0 run by William Penn to start things off. Jenna Santee with a 3-pointer on the wing. And now Brenda Pennington finding Ilatello to give William Penn that 10-0 lead. But it was a tough second quarter and a tough tough second quarter. William Penn does go into the half though, up 2 on a 3-pointer by Shamaya Oliver. She had a big game. Third quarter was a tough one. William Penn trying to stay in it. Nice drive and finish by Ilatello. In the fourth quarter, William Penn trying to make a game of it, but in the end could not stay with Evangel, and they finally get that winning streak snapped. A 73-65 upset by the Crusaders down there in Springfield, Missouri. Oliver has a big game with 19 points and 6 rebounds. Pennington with 17 points, and Ilatello adds 13 herself. But the women taking the loss, the men trying to come off a disappointing loss, as we just said, with the Wildcats, trying to pick things up against EU. And early on, it was all William Penn. Marlon Elsindor with 16 first half points. William Penn led 50-34. Evangel makes a run of it, but Eddie Daly able to push it back up to 10 points. But in the end, Evangel did have a chance, too reminiscent of a couple nights before. Fortunately, Tawan Johnson comes up with the loose ball, and your Statesmen survive down in Missouri, 89-87. A.B. Edwards, huge game, 11 out of 15 for 30 points. Eddie Daly adds another double-double, 19 points and 15 rebounds, and Elsindor with 18 points, including those 16 in the first half. Also in action, the wrestling team also going down to Missouri and battling in a huge Missouri Valley Invitational. Darkwell Pierre ends up placing 6th at 133 pounds to lead the way. He had 4 victories. Tyshawn Cannon also picked up a trio of wins, and Johnny Hopper had 2 triumphs as well. Again, that was a huge meet. A lot of individuals there from the heart in that one. Track and field team back in action. They were at the Central Invite, and there ended up being, we only showed 3 on the screen here, but there were 5 overall victories for the Statesmen. Kayla Music with a pair she had at the 60-meter and 200-meter dash events. Joel Brown wins the long jump. Finn Alade wins the high jump, and also Sage Erisman took the shot put as well. So 5 nice victories for William Penn at the Central Classic. The men's and women's bowling teams went east over to the Kegel Midwest Collegiate Classic, and the women had a really strong day. Baker competition pulled the team into the top 10 in by far the biggest event of the year for them. 61 teams on the women's side. Bailey Palmer leads the way with a 187.8 average, Kayla Gifford 185.2, and Nicole Kraft at 179.6. But again, the Baker play led the women into a top 10 finish. On the men's side, also over at the Kegel, and the team did not compete as well as it wanted, but still ended up with a top 20 finish. 70 teams overall, and Rock Kostrick with a top 25 finish. 208.8 was his average. Curtis Micah 200.4, and Nick Walker also in the top 100 at 192.4. Again, not a great showing by the men. Coach Brooks, we'll talk about that later, but overall, good effort by the men. When we return, we will have Coach Brandon Brooks. You're in the locker room.
William Penn University provided the opportunities for me to widen my potential after graduation. I loved being involved with the women's golf team and was able to focus my last few years on internships at the YMCA. With all the opportunities at Penn, I hope to one day be working in a stadium for a pro team or doing the business side of sports, which I love. The opportunities are real, your potential is unlimited. Discover your place at William Penn University.
You built a castle so that the prince and princess can live happily ever after. You brought the sunshine to shine upon the whole family's future. But when the sun hides behind the clouds, State Farm can help. We put the life back in life insurance to protect your family's finances, not only in the future, but today.
Call your State Farm agent Kelly Stile in Oskaloosa today.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to In the Locker Room. We have Coach Brandon Brooks, the head men's and women's bowling coach here at William Penn, for a couple of minutes. I'll steal him away from his busy schedule, but Coach Brooks, appreciate you coming in for a little bit. You guys are coming off a nice weekend at the Kegel ISB PA Midwest Collegiate Classic. I can't say that twice in a row, so I won't try to, but congratulations on a nice event there. You guys are a little over a month into your regime, so I guess just kind of a recap, you know, where you guys are at in the Brandon Brooks era.
Yeah, making progress, I think. You know, it took a little time for me, mainly for me, to learn everything and figure out the ropes and get used to some of the student athletes and allow them to get used to me and just get to know each other a little bit. We spent a lot of time doing that and subtly making adjustments here and there. So we're starting to get to that point in the season where we need to make some adjustments going into looking at postseason and that type of thing. So, but yeah, it's been a great month and a half, ish. Just getting to know everybody and getting to figure out how things work here at William Penn and at practices and the travel thing and all that. So it's been really good, really enjoyable.
Definitely. Coming back to your alma mater, you bowled on the first William Penn bowling teams. Just talk about how cool it is. I mean, we talked about this several times already, but how cool it is to be back at your alma mater. And in your own words, you said this is more or less your dream job, to be a collegiate bowling coach, and being able to do it where you bowled at collegiately. Yeah,
no, it's awesome. It's a great opportunity, and I'm really excited to be back here. And you know, college bowling is pretty big actually, and really the pinnacle of team bowling. There's no professional team bowling really or anything like that. And so this is about as good as it gets. And being able to work with the student athletes here has been awesome, and the staff at William Penn has been great, just helping me, being patient with me as I learn the different processes and get things figured out. And I'm really excited for the future here and for our team and for this program.
Recap last weekend, the Kegel being a Tier 1. I think you have one more Tier 1 left, the Hoosier next month, but this one being the biggest event so far this year. 70 teams on the men's side, 61 on the women's. Just bowlers upon bowlers everywhere, but the women finishing top 10, the men struggling a bit, but still a top 20 finish. So you've got to be happy that even on a bad day, you're still a top 20 team there. just recap that a little bit, you know, where you feel like the teams are at now.
Yeah, definitely a huge tournament and a really good one to kind of see where we're at to a certain extent. But, you know, at the same time, it's just a weekend and it's a 2-day thing and that type of deal. And so going into it, taking it as seriously as we can and ready to make some moves there, but then also being able to reflect on that and learn something too. And I think we're definitely going to be able to do that. The ladies bowled great both days, really. Sunday made some moves and jumped some teams to get to where they finished with 9th. And so out of 61 teams is great. The men's side, really after Sunday, I was a little bit worried because, you know, Sunday was a struggle and we just couldn't really put a whole lot together. You know, we had times where we had really good looks and executed really well, and then times where that didn't really happen for us, and that's just part of it. That's just part of the game, and you know, like I've told them, now we're going to learn from that and hopefully move on. And it was a big tournament. We're still going to get some really good points out of the thing. I really don't see it. I think the ladies will move up ranking wise, but I don't see it affecting our ranking too much. And yeah, so not a bad showing at all. I'm pretty happy with where we ended up. You know, we were 13th in the first squad, and so then to fall back just to 18th was okay. I'll definitely take that. So, but no, it was a good weekend. Good learning weekend, I think.
Definitely. Moving forward here, the next tournament being a Baker-only event at McKendree. That's one that, I mean, obviously, everything moving forward here now is preparing for sectionals and hopefully having that huge weekend so you can make it to nationals. But McKendree is going to be, and everything, you know, postseason-wise is going to be Baker. So how important is that tournament going to be? You guys trying to solidify, figuring out, you know, what pieces work together, or just how you make those Baker games really count?
Yeah, McKendree will be first of all, I love the McKendree tournament. It's probably my favorite tournament, you know, from when I was a player, and so I'm really excited to go back there and Fairview Heights and hopefully win a tournament this year still. And it'll be great practice for the postseason stuff. Like you said, sectionals is all Bakers, and so that'll be nice to be able to get a good whole weekend of practice doing that, and really try to, you know, move some things around and see what works well for us there, and that'd be good practice for sectionals for sure.
Yeah, and then you go right into the Hoosier, which coming off from last year, the men won the Hoosier,
Yep.
So a lot of expectations there for the Statesmen men. The women obviously expected, you know, that's the way they're rolling right now, to be you know, contender as well. But then, you know, sectionals, and at this point, the team is sitting, both teams sitting in position to very likely, I shouldn't say very likely, you don't want to say that, but in position to possibly move on to nationals. I guess really what are the expectations and what will it take to once again reach the goal of moving on to nationals?
I think we're on track to do that, and I think that you know, obviously I'm learning too, and so that adds a whole nother dynamic to this whole process. But being able to just continue to work together as a team and learn, and I think we're going to be set up in a really good place to make a run at the national tournament and be able to get there. I have high hopes that both teams will qualify this year again, and we're sitting really good right now with just a couple tournaments left. Obviously, having both teams in the top 16 would be nice, just because of how they select who goes where. That helps out a little bit if you're both within the top 16, so that hopefully we can get both teams there. But yeah, I have high expectations for both these teams. They're a great group of kids, and really been able to bowl really well and take everything this season very well, and continue to grow and learn and get better. They've really have improved in just the month and a half that I've been able to watch them, and so that's exciting to see, and hopefully we can continue to do that through sectionals.
Definitely. Well, thank you, Coach Brooks, for coming in. No, it's like I said, very difficult to get you worked into your schedule, but appreciate your time. When we return, we will have Austin Goen of the wrestling team here in the locker room.
What if there was a program
where I could express my individuality,
create my visions, get the hands-on learning that I need,
a program where I could become something greater,
become something bigger?
Hello everyone, this is Tyler Van Welden from Malcolm Lumber in Grinnell, Montezuma, and Oskaloosa. Malcolm Lumber is your DIY headquarters and we would love to help you with any projects you want to tackle. Bring us your plans, let our staff help you. We will get you the right materials, the correct tools, and the support you need to make that project come out perfect. And now we have a full-time designer for that new kitchen and bath. Stop in and say hello at any of our 3 store locations or call to make an appointment.
Hi, Statesman Nation. We're back to In the Locker Room. In this segment, we're going to be talking to Austin Goen of the wrestling team, senior out of Belton, Missouri. Austin, appreciate you coming in for a little bit here. Let's talk. We don't have a lot of time, and I know you're a busy guy talking off camera. You got Greek life stuff going on. You're a wrestler, obviously. You're also a member of our cheerleading team, so just busy time. Yeah. So let's talk about, first off, balancing it all. How do you manage to pull that off?
Yeah, I get that question a lot, actually. I take the max amount of credits. I do both sports, as well as work 3 different jobs. And sometimes it gets a little overwhelming, and even last semester I kind of hit a breaking point. But I have a lot of good mentors in my life that are good about keeping things in check, reminding me of what I'm pursuing, and that at the end of the day, these things will really push me to where I want to be.
Right. Yeah. Talk about your senior year, going in, your final year on the mat, opportunity to finish it off strong, ranked 5th in the Heart. Overall, what are the expectations for Austin Goen moving forward here in the final month or so of the season?
Yeah, so for me, it's just finishing the season healthy. I know I'm putting in the work, I'm putting in the effort. Nagging injuries kind of show up throughout the season. We just push ourselves so hard, and obviously working at a caloric deficit with cutting weight and whatnot. So I've kind of fixed the injury part over my season. Now I'm trying to bring my weight back down to 174, and that's where I'll be when it comes time for a national qualifier.
Right, definitely. What have you learned over the last 4 years that, I figured that part out of wrestling, but I still need, and again, there's not a lot of time left here, but what's it going to take to get over the hump technically, I guess?
For me, I always thought that wrestlers just need to be in the best shape possible. I train my body, I do CrossFit and other things to push my body to the limit, but really working those small things, the small positions, the positioning changes was the biggest transition from high school to college. College is all about positioning, and one out of position thing can determine the match. And so that was the biggest thing for me, and the biggest thing I take out of, I guess, college when I'm done.
Yeah, definitely. You had a switch in the coaching staffs just over a year ago with Coach Scott taking over. Obviously, he was on the staff, so you guys knew him really well. But how is that? It's more than I can't say. Well, how's that transition been? Because it's a year down the road now. But I assume that you guys have taken to him well. I mean, it's worked well for your wrestling system. But talk about Coach Scott a little bit.
Yeah, so Coach Scott was a coach that was here when I first came here, but he was just in and out of the room, and then as the years passed, he came more and more and became the assistant coach, and then now the head coach. I love everything about his coaching style. I think that in wrestling and in a lot of sports, we get so tied up in winning or the practice of the day-to-day in and out, and he is just really focusing on making us better men. And wrestling as a sport's already seen as a good character builder, but it's been even better for me. We do mindset trainings. He reminds us what we're working towards. He keeps us accountable in and out of the wrestling room. And everything with that, I feel just much more equipped outside of this wrestling room, and it's shown on the mat, like you said.
Yeah. You also have an interesting situation with your brother having also come. Andrew came to William Penn at the same time. You guys are finishing up your time together. I'm sure when it's said and done, you guys are going to be splitting off and leading your own lives. But how cool has it been to know that, hey, brother's been there for a few more years and could spend some extra time in the wrestling room, especially together?
Yeah, it was awesome. My plan was not originally to come here. It was probably the furthest thing from my mind. But when my other plans fell through and the opportunity that Coach Reed gave me to come here, it was awesome. Coming to college, it's only 4 hours away from home, but it still felt like a lifetime away. And having him there, especially before I made a whole lot of friends, was huge in keeping me here and keeping my mind focused.
Yeah. We were talking off camera about your future plans. You've already mentioned CrossFit, but tell the folks at home a little bit about what you're planning on doing. This is by far not anywhere close to the end of Austin Gowen's wrestling story, probably.
Yeah, definitely not. So come May, I'm going to be actually moving down to Louisiana to pursue my MBA in general business. And I hope to land a coaching job with CrossFit down there, as well as maybe assist in some wrestling, and then future goals to own a CrossFit gym and also continue to give back to the wrestling community as much as I can.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much. I know we felt like we talked about a million things real quickly here, but I wanted to, get you back to your very busy schedule. But I appreciate you coming in and giving us a little insight on what's going on in Austin Gowen's life. So, again, Austin Gowen, senior out of Belton, Missouri, wrestler here at William Penn. I appreciate his time. When we return, we'll preview all of next week's games. You're in the locker room.
William Penn University provided the opportunities for me to widen my potential after graduation. I love being involved with the women's golf team and was able to focus my last few years on internships at the YMCA. With all the opportunities at Penn, I hope to one day be working in a stadium for a pro team or doing the business side of sports, which I love. The opportunities are real, your potential is unlimited. Discover your place at William Penn University.
You built a castle so that the prince and princess can live happily ever after. You brought the sunshine to shine upon the whole family's future. But when the sun hides behind the clouds, State Farm can help. We put the life back in life insurance to protect your family's finances, not only in the future, but today.
Call your State Farm agent Kelly Style in Oskaloosa today.
Hello everyone, this is Tyler Van Welden from Malcolm Lumber in Grinnell, Montezuma, and Oskaloosa. Malcolm Lumber is your DIY headquarters and we would love to help you with any projects you want to tackle. Bring us your plans, let our staff help you. We will get you the right materials, the correct tools, and the support you need to make that project come out perfect. And now we have a full-time designer for that new kitchen and bath. Stop in and say hello at any of our 3 store locations or call to make an appointment.
Welcome back to In the Locker Room. For this week, this upcoming week for William Penn, it's a light week, just one game at home. Let's go right to the graphics and show you what we have coming up. Just on Monday night, Missouri Valley will be coming into Oskaloosa for a women's contest, women's only contest. William Penn defeated the Vikings by 25 a couple months ago, looking for the season sweep. A couple nights later, William Penn will go up to Grandview, up to Des Moines to take on the Vikings for a doubleheader. The women also looking for a sweep here against GVU, winning 59-41 right after Thanksgiving, excuse me. The men also looking for that doubleheader sweep. Eddie Daly has been playing extremely well, 20 points, 16 rebounds in his last 2 games, averaging that, looking for the sweep against the rival Vikings. Then on Friday night, the wrestling team will also go up to Des Moines, taking on #1 Grandview. It's going to be the beast of all beasts, taking on, I believe, 7-time defending national champion. So it'll be a huge heart duel there Friday night in Des Moines. Then on Saturday, William Penn leaving the state, going west over to Peru State. The women will take on Peru State first. Don't be surprised by by that record, or overlook that record. Peru State has been playing very well, but William Penn did beat the Bobcats by 38 on the women's side last month. And this will be another huge one for the men's contest. These 2 teams battling near the top of the Hart standings. William Penn snuck past PSC by 7 just over a month ago. Also in action, the track and field team will be at Grinnell on Saturday, and also the wrestling team will be battling at Loris. So again, just one contest at home this week, so come out and cheer on the women's basketball team against Missouri Valley. But otherwise, we'll have all of those recaps next week, and we'll have interviews with our coaches and student athletes as always. So thanks for joining us, Statesman Nation, and until next week, go Statesman.